Yonkers Voice. Today, because of the issues that we are having with the Yonkers Voice Facebook page, we are live on YouTube channel. Guys, this is why I always tell you guys to follow us on all of our platforms. Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If we have a technical problem in one of those platforms, we can always get the notification that we are live on another page. Corazon, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for sitting here with us. Say hello to our friends there.
Hello, Yonkers Voice, watchers and viewers, loyal fans. I'm so excited to be here today and honored to be able to talk with you all today.
Corazon, I gotta ask you, why are you running? It's important to know exactly why are you running for mayor of our great city. Tell the people out there.
Thank you, Dan, for the question. So, let me start by introducing myself for those who haven't met me. My name is Corazon Pineda-Isaac, and I'm a councilwoman here in Yonkers, representing District 2. I've been on the council for 9 full years, and I'm currently in my 10th year in office. And the reason that I'm running for mayor is because my time on the council has allowed me to see a lot of the inefficient practices that have happened in government. And I believe that we need a fresh set of eyes, a new lens, and a different perspective to lead our city into the 21st century. To make sure that we implement policies that work for people, that we create an economic development strategy that is for all of Yonkers, not just the waterfront, and that we really invest resources in our communities to those that need it the most. So I think, I'm sure we'll get into the nuts and crannies of it. We'll talk details, but there are so many things that Yonkers, so much potential that Yonkers still hasn't really fulfilled. And I think that it's important that we make sure that we tell the stories of all the residents that live here. And we put those stories and those solutions to the challenges that people face into policy. So I believe there's so much more the city has done, needs to do. And I think that taking my experience on the council, taking the insider knowledge that I have gained as a council member, but my outsider perspective, my specific lens and perspective, from my personal experience, my experience as a councilwoman, will really help us lead this city into the 21st century.
Now, Corazon, as I told you guys in the beginning, we are trying something new, so I'm not sure 100% sure if this is actually working. So give me 1 second, okay? Don't go nowhere.
Okay.
It's working, Corazon, it's working.
Great.
So it is working.
Great.
So guys, before we go much further, let me tell you that today's interview is sponsored by Giovanni Pizzeria here at 25 Main Street in Yonkers. If you want to come for the great pizza and other stuff, chicken marsala, and all kind of Italian foods and stuff like that, it's delicious.
The grandpa slice is my personal favorite.
That's your favorite?
From here, yes it is.
Chicken marsala for me, it's just. So, Corazon, what is your vision for the city of Yonkers? If you were to be elected November, what would you vision of? How would you see Yonkers a year, 2 years after you became mayor? What would be the changes?
Absolutely. So one of my first priorities is make sure that we are investing more in our Yonkers public schools, making sure that we're providing our students with all of the resources that they need to really maximize their education. So we're talking about making sure that we're investing in full music, sports, and arts, that we are adding additional guidance counselors, psychologists, and mental health services into our schools, that we're investing in our school buildings to provide adequate learning conditions for our students, that we're making the process to access additional resources for parents not so difficult. So I think one of my main priorities in my vision for Yonkers is making sure that we invest in our public schools in a way that parents and families truly feel it. Another one of my visions for Yonkers is to making sure we take an antiquated department as the building department and really bring it to the 21st century. So in my time as a city councilwoman, I I have learned of the inefficient practices that are within the buildings department. I have heard of business owners who say that, they have to wait 8 months to a year for a permit for their business. I have heard from homeowners, and, who say that there's a running joke in Yonkers. A joke that says, if you want to build a deck or something in your home to enjoy for summer, let's say of 2023, you have to go to the buildings department in summer of 2022, just so you could have it in time for that summer. So, that is a joke that people say in Yonkers, except that there's nothing funny about it. Because we're talking about people's lives, people's investment in their homes, people's businesses, their livelihood. And when folks, cannot get efficient practices within our city services, we are really hurting our families and people in Yonkers. When people call the buildings department and they feel like their issues are not taken seriously, we are hurting families that live in our city that rely on us to take their issues and their matters seriously and really follow up on it. So I think we have to really take a close look at the Yonkers Building Department, look at it from inside out, and really make sure we bring it to the 21st century, to digitize it, to add more inspectors, to add practices that make it a more seamless process and an easier process for our businesses, our homeowners, and our renters, and make sure that city services are adequately performing for the people that they serve.
Now, Corazon, you've been a councilwoman for what?
9 years.
9 years. And the problems that you just described are not your problems. So you were a councilwoman, you were the majority leader at some point. What have you done while you were there to address those problems?
Absolutely. So one of the things with the buildings department that I have done is, I fought to create a buildings registry. And, I was frustrated at how long it took for the building registry to actually be created after passing it. Really, the goal of the registry is to take a close look at the properties and property owners that are here in our city and make sure that, we create for accessibility for the people who are looking to make commitments on rental properties. Because there's nothing more sacred than having a safe place to live. So we wanted to afford residents the opportunity to search a property, learn its history, and know of any open violations or recurrent violations that a property may have. Therefore, that's one of the ways that I look to tackle the issues that we saw ongoing within the building department. There are many years that every year that I'm on the city council, I have fought for additional funding for our schools. There are budgets that I didn't vote for because I thought they didn't do enough for our Yonkers public schools. Every year during the budget season, I talked about our ratios from students to guidance counselors. It was 800 to 1, 600 to 1. And those are the issues that our families face. Imagine coming post a pandemic back into our public schools, dealing with the trauma that happened during the COVID-19 pandemic, and being a student, being 600, 700 students to one guidance counselor. How long would that student have to wait to get an appointment with a guidance counselor? That is what our students are up against. That's what I have been fighting against and have advocated for. And I think that new leadership is really what's going to create for new decision making, for new ways to tackle those problems, and to create a new vision of how we solve those challenges that persist in our city.
Now, Corazon, is crime a problem for you?
Yes, it is. So, Yonkers, is considered and is said to be one of the safest cities in America. And I don't dispute that. However, there are pockets of the city that do not feel that way for residents. So when we say that, we have to be very careful that we don't alienate the experiences and the feelings that people have in this city, right? For the viewers that watch your program, that are loyal fanatics of Yonkers Voice, loyal fans, they see on a daily basis the different things that you post that are the realities for many people that live in certain neighborhoods. Therefore, I think we have to make sure that we tackle, all those issues delicately and holistically, so that every pocket of our city feels as safe as the city as a whole is. And that is what I am fighting for, to make sure that, Brewster Avenue feels just as safe as Maple Street.
Now, I always tell people that, look, you should vote based on the record. And as you just said, those that are fanatics or fans of Yonkers Voice.
I don't mean it in a bad way.
No, I know you meant it in a good way. And thank you for the shout out. I know you did. But guess what, Corazon? Most of these places I go, where crime appears to be a little higher, are people on your district. Okay, those are folks for your district. What have you done for the people of your district to feel safer? Have you ever voted to increase police force on your district and in Yonkers? Have you ever voted to have a better law enforcement in the sense of more funds for them to protect our city? If you have, tell us. Because look, the PBA president, Kit Olson, said that you are misinformed, that Yonkers is the largest city in New York State, or one of the largest cities in New York State, and one of the safest cities in the United States. Who is wrong, you or Kit Olson?
So the first question is, what have I done in my district? I'm going to answer that because I already pocketed the question. So I agree with you. There are areas in my district that are actually the ones that have the most challenges. Rhode Island Hill, Southwest Yonkers, west side of Yonkers, absolutely have the most challenges, which is why I say I delicately approach the statement, Yonkers is the safest city of the size. I don't dispute the comments. I do believe that Yonkers, agree with that Yonkers is the safest city. What I say that is that that's not everyone's experience. So because I know that Rhode Island Hill, for example, has so many challenges, that's why early on in my tenure, I fought for $1 million to create the Day Spring Community Center. And what did we do? With that $1 million, we created a community center that continues to preserve its organic nature as a church, because it used to be, it's the Good Presbyterian Church it used to be. So parishioners can still worship on Sundays, but at the same time, we have created a basketball court there, computer rooms, after-school services, healthcare services, resume building, a computer lab, all these services that I say are holistic approaches to battling crime. I believe that, that community center has probably saved so many lives because it's provided an outlet for young people in the community, for families to have resources. And before that community center was there, that area, that block on Rhode Island Hill, looked abandoned, looked dilapidated, whereas now it looks like a great investment within our city. And West Half was able to leverage that city funding to then build the Day Spring Commons, to acquire more funding, to create an 100% affordable housing unit right next door. Those are the kind of things that I'm looking to do all throughout the city, to make sure that our investments are not only coming to the waterfront, but they're coming to the neighborhoods that really need them and really deserve those investments. And so that developers can look at a place like Rhode Island Hill and see Day Spring Community Center, see Day Spring Commons, and say, oh, this is an area that we could invest in as well. And that's what I'm looking to really create a shift in, to show people that Yonkers is more than just the waterfront properties. It is different pockets of neighborhood that deserve investments, that deserve resources, that deserve an influx of money, so that all the residents can feel the improvements of our city. You mentioned, who is wrong, who is right. The PBA president is not wrong when he continues to say that Yonkers is the safest city of its size. I've never disputed that.
So can you both be right at the same thing? Or because if he's not wrong, then you're wrong.
No, I said he's right. And I've never said that Yonkers is not the safest city in America. What I said is that not everyone in the Yonkers feels that way. So we have to make sure that our approach is holistic, that we are investing in additional mental health services, that we are investing in additional after-school programs, in anti-violence prevention programs, programs that we know studies have shown help combat crime, help lower crime rates. And if we do more of that, then we can take a proactive approach to solving crime or getting rid of crime before it occurs.
Most of the time, of course, a few times you haven't, but most of the times you have voted in line with the current mayor, Mike Span, correct?
So I have voted on budgets that he has proposed, because there were things in the budget that I had advocated for my constituents. So if there was a budget that, I fought for certain things, I voted for that budget. But there were times where when I didn't feel that I did enough, I voted against it.
if people are out there and say, who should I give my vote? Is it Corazon, is the current mayor, or another candidate? What sets you apart? Why should they vote for you? Let's say this is the time. This is the time they're looking at you and listening from you and say, okay, she makes sense. She deserves my vote. So what is the main difference between you, Corazon, and the other candidates? You don't have to mention them by names, but tell me people are smart enough to know who you're talking.
Absolutely. So I think that, look, we're at a pivotal point in our city where, we have to think about where are we and what practices have we put in place, right? And I think that for a long time now, we have tackled issues using the same policies over and over again. I think that change is great because it brings a different perspective, a different lens, a different set of experiences. And I think that that's what I bring. I think that as an Afro-Latina woman, as a woman, person of color, there are experiences that I have faced, there are challenges that I have faced that will help me translate those challenges into policy decisions. And I think those are the things that we, as a city, can use. For example, I think the city should be creating a robust minority and women business owned program and database where we are identifying MWBEs and minority and women owned businesses, and we are creating a database that we can provide to contractors, to developers, to residents, so contractors can, when we tell them, please use MWBEs of our city, they can't say to us, well, I tried, I can't find any. If we have a database that we created, we say, look, we have MWBE painters, we have MWBE contractors and architects that live in our city, that have business in our city. We can provide opportunities for those that are in our city to also provide, to have a stake in the things that are happening, in the investments that are happening in our city. We can we should be creating an MWBE GIS map where we can be geotagging, where these businesses are for folks to find. And I think, these are the different ideas and policies that we have not seen. We have, for example, another thing that I believe that we have been underutilizing are community centers, right? So we have community centers in Yonkers that serve solely as senior centers. Right now, if you visit the No Diaper Community Center, there is a senior knitting club happening. That is fantastic. That is great. Our seniors should deserve and should continue to use these services. In addition to that, though, we should be opening our city community centers to our youth, to our nonprofits. We know that seniors usually use these centers from 10 to 3, 10 to 4. So why are they closed at 5, 6, 7, 8 p.m.? Why have we not invested to staff these issues, to staff these senior centers with support so that our nonprofits can use them, so the young people can use them? And that is why, it's because we haven't shifted to see the different ways in which we can implement policies that really benefit the changing communities that are in our city. And that's what makes me different. It's a different set of eyes, it's a fresh set of eyes with insider knowledge from the experiences that I've learned as I work in the city government. So those experiences have taught me, the issues, the chronic issues I face in the building department, the chronic issues that our schools face, the underfunding that that our schools face, and all the different issues that our city tackles, the lack of affordable housing. So that insider knowledge, coupled with my outsider spirit, with my independent thinking, I think is a great place for Yonkers to be, and a great place for new leadership to really take part in the decision making of how this city is being run.
As you know, we are live on YouTube, but people send questions privately, and I write them up, as you can see here. So I have to ask you this question that is here. It says, in regards to bail reform, would you support the bail reform, and how do you feel about bail reform? It's a problem for many people.
Mm-hmm.
People are seeing like a revolving door. People get arrested today, in a couple hours they are out to commit another crime. Would you support? I understand the mayor is not the person, is not involved in that, it's at New York State level, but it's important to know how a mayor or a future mayor would think about the bail reform. What is your take on that?
Look, I think with any law, especially when it's delicate as bail reform is, there's always room for improvement. So I support making changes to the bail reform that are more beneficial for our families and for our communities. So if there are conversations happening between the governor, between the New York State legislator about how to amend and make for better bail reform laws. I support any initiatives to strengthen our laws, to make sure that people feel safer, that people are safer, and at the same time to make sure that we're not criminalizing poverty. So I do support changes that will benefit the people of our city and the state with regards to bail reform.
Nepotism. A lot of people complain that there is too many Spanish working in the city hall and other places. How do you see that? If you were to be a mayor, would you say anyone from my family will work under my administration? Do you have anyone from your family working for the city hall or the city of Yonkers related jobs? And if so, how did they get those jobs?
Yeah. So yes, nepotism is something that people absolutely question and people have concerns about. And in Yonkers, our residents should feel good about the person making these decisions. They should feel that there should be a leader who is making clear decisions without influence, without any conflict of interest. And that is something that I believe a lot of people don't feel we currently have. I don't know the amount of jobs that the current administration has within family members and friends, but there's definitely plenty. That's something for us to explore and to look at and to really think about. If we say there aren't enough money for our schools, there aren't enough money for certain programs, we can't say that while also spending X amount of dollars on salaries for friends and families. That's something very interesting to explore. We definitely have to make sure that we do our due diligence to ensure that people are held accountable for their hiring practices, to make sure that there are open hiring practices so that people feel that they have access to city jobs. There are many residents that say, have said to me that, they don't feel like the city jobs are accessible to them. Unless you know someone, unless you are well connected, people don't feel like they have access to city government jobs. It should not be that way. We should be opening our hiring practices in a way that people feel that they truly have an opportunity. Not just it's a listing on the website just because, but instead a way that people really feel like if they apply for the job, they really have a fair chance of acquiring our city job. That is how we're going to diversify our workforce. That is how we're going to provide more access to local jobs for individuals. Everybody wants to work close to where they live. So if there are opportunities within city government, we really should be making a real effort to employ the residents of the city of Yonkers. Have we done that? I don't believe that we have. I believe that the current administration has used the city purse for the benefit of the Friends and Family Network. So we have to really investigate that and figure out how do we best tackle those issues to make sure that they do not continue. As mayor, I do not support using the city's workforce as my personal job opportunity for my Friends and Family Network. I do not. And that's not a practice that I will embark on. I will make sure that the hiring practices are fair, that they are open to everyone, and that people have true opportunities to work in our city. Do I have a person that works for the
yes,
a family member? I do.
Yep.
So my sister works for the Department of Veteran Services, and even though that she works for the city, that has never faltered my decision making. So even though my sister worked for the city, it never took part of my decision making when I had to vote against term limits 2 times. Didn't take part of my decision making when I voted against budgets. Because if my sister's job was on the chopping block, because of my decision making, that is a decision that we were comfortable with. Because my role as a city council elected is to serve the people. And no decision, no job, no person in government is going to ever falter, is going to ever change that or put that at risk.
Does your mother work for the city of Yonkers or
She
no?
does not. She works for the Yonkers Public Schools, and
But it's related.
but she's been in the Yonkers Public Schools before I was ever even elected.
You just mentioned term limit.
Yes,
You voted against it.
I did.
I remember a few years back,
I did.
you and I went back and forth, you
I
know.
did.
But you ran for the third term.
I did.
So you are against extending term limits, but you ran for another term, for the third term. How you reconcile those two things? How can you be against but then take advantage of it?
Very easily. When I voted against term limits the first time, not the second time, the first time, I said that I wasn't necessarily against the extension, right? I can understand why people felt that perhaps 12 years would be more adequate. I was against how it played out in City Hall. I was against how they put it forth to the people of the city of Yonkers. I was against the timeline in which they did it, how it wasn't forthcoming, how the process was not open, how it was done late in the year. I'm hoping that people were not paying attention, or not enough people were paying attention. That is what I was against. The procedure about how it was done, because government should be open, government should be transparent, and government should give people an opportunity to really organize behind an issue. And the term limit extension did not allow for any of that. You know, we have an affordable housing ordinance that has been in committee for months, and we have been talking about it for years. Yet term limits, though, can pass within a matter of a month. So what is more important, extending term limits or creating affordable housing for our residents? Yonkers Voice, you guys tell me the answer.
Guys, don't forget to leave comments, comment on this interview. Being a mayor, you must work with people from all stakeholders. Council people from different party lines and all that. Not long ago, you were the majority leader.
Mm-hmm.
You were voted out. I was there the day that exchange awards between you, Tasha Diaz, and the other councilwoman against Tasha. Words that were not so nice. End of the days, you were voted out. When you were not able to work with the other council people, why would you vote you out?
Look, a change in leadership positions within governments happen often, and I did not take it as a negative thing on my record because again, I wasn't voted or elected by the people to be majority leader. I was voted to be their council person. So for me, the only votes that matter are the votes that came from the people of the second council district. And even when I wasn't majority leader, 68% of the people voted to bring me back for a third term. And again, I think everyone seeks to move up within their careers. Everyone, most people are ambitious about the roles that they seek. And the current majority leader saw majority leader, she was successful. Congratulations to her. And I continue to wish her well in the role that she serves. I personally did not vote in favor of it, and I have my reasons, which I stated. You said they were not nice.
They were not nice.
You said they were not nice, but they were always professional. So I will say that. I always bring professionalism to the city council, to the city government, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the way in which I manage my role, in which I manage relationships, in which I manage conflict, and that is what I take with me. And I'm proud of the work that I do as a councilwoman of the 2nd District. So when folks call my office, they know that they're going to be treated with respect, they're going to be treated with love, and that I'm going to take their issue, no matter how small or how big, very seriously, because it's important to them. And that is the same views and the same policy decision making that I'm going to take to the mayor's office. Is to treat everyone's issue if it is the biggest issue, because it is very important to them. So when you treat people with respect and love, they appreciate that, and they know that you value their personal experience, you value their challenges, and you tackle it head on, and that is what I will continue to do.
Guys, don't forget, if you are in need for a pizza, Chicken marsala. What's your favorite?
The grandpa slice.
The grand pie slice? Is that
Grandpa, yep.
grand pie slice. Giovanni, 25 New Main Street. Main Street or New Main Street?
It's Main Street.
I always make that
New
mistake.
Main Street,
Main,
yeah.
Main Street, right at the corner of Main and Warburton Avenue, correct? That's
Right.
where Bar. So come on down. You know, support your local business by actions, not just words. You know, a lot of us say, hey, we gotta support, but not many support. But also, we have another big problem in Yonkers, at least in my view, homeless. Okay, we need to do more about the homeless. Yeah, we all heard the homeless is a county problem, it's not the Yonkers problem, but guess what? At the end of the day, they're right in Yonkers.
Absolutely.
And if you are elected, it will become your problem for you to solve. I know they say that they're doing a lot, but somehow, whatever they're doing, we're not seeing it. Okay, it's not just to solve the homeless problem, it's not just giving a homeless person an apartment. Training, putting back to work, it's more complex than meets the eye. If that lays on your table, on your lap, how would you address it? How would you solve it?
I agree with you wholeheartedly when you say it's not just a county issue. It is our issue. And we have to figure out, you know, how do we tackle the issue, not just in the immediate, but in the long term, right? And that's it's so layered and it's so multifaceted. We have to make sure that we're investing in mental health services. And how do we do that as a city, right? So as a city, I think that what we can do is we can look at the nonprofits that get money from us, that do work in mental health and in combating homelessness. And we as a city can provide them with additional funds so they can do more than what they're already doing, right? We have organizations that is what they do. So I think one of the ways as a city we can help support the issue of homelessness is by providing more support to the organizations that are already doing that work. I think another way that we tackle it is, you know, by creating more access to workforce development. So, you know, we need to provide opportunities and economic opportunities for people so they can be self-sufficient, so they're sustainable in their lives. So they are not, you know, a check away from being homeless or providing the opportunities to go back into the workforce. So we need to create more opportunities. And there are organizations that are doing the work like Groundworks, but they're just one, and they need more support. They need more partners. And so we have to figure out a way, how do we create more access to workforce development? And I think, you know, and it goes back to the buildings department. You know, the current facility that is now open, the new sharing community and the women's shelter, you know, took a long time to open because, you know, it took a long process for them through the buildings department. So that means that there are agencies before us looking to obtain permits to open up facilities, help homeless, help combat homelessness. We have to make sure that as a city, we are not slowing down their process by having antiquated and detrimental city services that prevent them from moving along in the manner that they should.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, that, I can, period, hard stop.
Just got another message saying in regards to crime, because crime is important for the people of Yonkers.
Yes.
They want to know, do you feel that we have enough police officers in the city of Yonkers? Would you put more money in a budget to hire more police officers, or do you think that we have enough and reduce police officers?
I never thought about reducing police officers. I think that, you know, we have to tackle these issues on a year-by-year basis and figure out, you know, are there places in our city that need more support, that need more officers, and then, you know, I would like to, and then look at the full structure of the department and figure out, you know, how do we best spread out those needs. So do I have an answer? Do we need more police officers? I don't know if we do, but we definitely do not need less. But I think what we do need is additional mental health services. We do need additional anti-violence interrupters. We do need more resources to combat crime before it even occurs.
Development in Yonkers. are you in favor of all this development that is coming in Yonkers, or are you against?
So
How do you see that?
I'm not against development. I just think that we have to make sure that development isn't just, I think development should not just be focused on, the waterfront property, right? I think it's great to beautify our waterfront. I think it's great, some of the improvements that have happened to the downtown. However, we have to make sure that while development is happening, that we are holding developers accountable to make sure that they're providing community benefit agreements that are truly beneficial to communities. That they make sure that they are hiring locally. Make sure that they are paying prevailing wages to their employers. Make sure that if they receive benefits from taxpayers, from the IDA, and they do not follow through these agreements and these community benefits that are put in place, that there's a recapture clause to take away those benefits. So I'm not anti-development. I just believe that we have to be very careful about the development that happens in the city, because there are many families that see the beautiful waterfront development that's happening in Yonkers, and they feel that it's not for them. So how do we create development that doesn't push away the people that have invested their whole lives here, the people that were born and raised here, that have moved here from other places and have established families here and want to stay here, but they cannot pay $5,000 in rent? How do we do that? That is by making sure that we approve an affordable housing ordinance that works for the people, and not vetoing one that comes before the current mayor vetoes an affordable housing ordinance and would have required 20% of units to be affordable for families. How can that be? How can you tell families that you want them to stay, that you want them to be here, but yet when these high rises are being built, we're not putting aside enough units as affordable for the families that can afford $5,000 in rent? We have to make sure that we are creating more units within the new developments, that we are helping to build more affordable, 100% affordable units, that we create workforce development opportunities, and that our economic strategy is not just one-sided. It's not just focused on one area of the city, but instead it's a full city strategy that embraces in the entire city as a whole, and make sure that we are investing in all the different areas of our communities.
Corazon, the recovery law or closure that you just mentioned, don't we have that already?
Look, I don't believe that we have enough reform where we are actually auditing developers that have gotten benefits from the city. There are no open audits in place that say, okay, you said you were going to create X amount of jobs. There are no audits in place to prove that X amount of jobs were created. There are no audits in place to prove that we have there was no certified payroll in the city of Yonkers IDA to see what wages are being paid and to whom, to make sure that local practices are in place. There are no variety of PLA project labor agreements, and no type of balance of saying to projects, this percentage of your project should use labor, and the rest you can go out to the market. There are these conversations, and these policies have not been ratified, so that every developer that comes before us has to abide by these kind of policies. And that's what we haven't done as a city. That is how we have not evolved in making sure that we are putting forth policies that really benefit the community as a whole.
Corazon, before the interview, I do a check. I do my research, I looked around, I talk to people, I ask for feedback. And I did some work, on these interviews I do with others. And I noticed that I could be wrong. I do research, but sometimes I'm wrong.
Okay.
Have you ever voted against any of the projects that came to the city of Yonkers? All these projects that we see at the waterfront and other places, have you ever voted no on any one of them?
So when I started my comment, I said I'm not anti-development. I'm just saying that we need a economic development strategy that works for the people. That is why I supported a 20% ordinance that would have brought 20% of units as affordable to all the development that is happening in our city. That is why, I support IDA reform to make sure that those getting IDA benefits, there are practices and policies in place to make sure that they're providing, the best services, the best local jobs, opportunities for the people that live in the city. So, and furthermore, I said, it's about creating opportunities, not just at the waterfront, but, at all different levels of different areas of our city. So that's why I started the sentence of saying, I'm not anti-development. I just think that our economic development strategy has to shift so that it's not solely focused on the waterfront, and have a leader in place that is going to market the city as a whole, to show other areas of our city that need investment, that can use investment, and that are good investments to make.
So your answer is yes or no? Have you ever voted against?
I can't remember. There are projects that I haven't voted for, but I just can't remember exactly, I've been on the council for 9 years, many projects. But yes, I have voted for many of the waterfront developments that are on the waterfront, but again, also fought for those developments who have 20% of the units to be set aside as affordable.
Okay, this is the
So
problem.
it's about balance.
This is the problem, because that people are talking about. Yes, you never voted against. Actually, my research showed that you always voted in favor. But you also got a lot of funds, donations from those people that are investing in Yonkers. All of them donated money to your campaign.
That is not true.
That is not true.
That is not true. That all of
That-
the developers
that-
that
but-
are coming from the Yonkers.
Not all, but the majority of the developers here in Yonkers donated.
No, I don't. That is not true. That the majority of developers here in Yonkers donated to my campaign. That is absolutely false.
Many have.
I think 2 maybe have.
I actually have the documents here.
Okay.
We could go through it, or I can send it to you.
No, fine.
Okay?
Which
There-
tell me the
there is
majority.
There is many developers that have donated.
So
but-
please,
but then-
share which ones.
Look, I can send it to you.
No,
It's
but
too
we're
long.
speaking to the people. I'm telling
we'll
you to
go
share
one
which
by one.
ones.
Let me see. Come to Corazon office. Monetary contribution received. Part 1. LLC's partnership subcontractor, Corazon Pineda, 5/10/21. You know who that is? LLC's partnership subcontractor?
No, I don't know who that specific is. Any company can be an LLC,
Yeah, subcontract. I'm just asking if you know.
But I'm just saying, maybe developers, we know who they are, so I'm
Yeah,
asking
but
you.
like I said,
Even though you said all the developers have donated to me,
and I asked,
most, and I'm asking you to tell me which ones are on that list that have donated to me. Since- 'cause that's not in fact true.
Midnight.
Yes, Mitnick has donated, but you said all, so I
Well,
don't know.
not every single one.
I said there's a handful, but but it's less, I have fingers left over with my hand, but that's a
Okay, but
handful.
some have, right?
Okay.
And again,
Okay, that's fine, but just wanted to let the record show that you said all developers.
No
And
need
they
to be
are-
so defensive, like I
No,
told.
no, because I'm not being defensive, I just wanted to clear the record to show that not all developers that have come before the city of Yonkers have donated to me. And if they have, it still does not dictate how, how I fight for constituents. So how I making sure to hold them accountable, how I fight for community benefits agreement, how if there's a development happening in my district, I bring in the community and have meeting after meeting after meeting to make sure people's voices are heard. If you don't believe me, ask the residents of Ludlow Park, who have Ginsburg, who is building a development in Southwest Yonkers, and how I loop them into the conversation in every step of the way, through the scoping, through the environmental review, through community meetings, through many meetings where I bring the developer in and demand that they answer the questions of the people, and that is how I move forward with developments and make sure that the community that they represent are in the conversations and in a way that they feel comfortable with the development moving forward.
Well, as I told you earlier, I do research, and not everything is correct, okay?
Okay.
But a lot of people believe that is correct, or assume something to be correct. That's why I'm asking the question. That way you can tell them exactly and explain, this is not correct, this is the way, or that's the way. At the end of the day, people know. They can then research and find out.
Absolutely.
What else, Corazon? What else you would like to take this opportunity to speak on? Oh, by the way, I got a question, and this is one that I'm involved in.
Okay.
I remember taking a picture of your car, city car, in a time that you were not working. Okay, means that that car is for business purposes, correct?
Well, no. So
The vehicle.
the vehicle, it is a city provided vehicle that I can use for city related stuff. But in addition to that, I have to input my personal use and submit it to the city, and they deduct that money from my pay stubs. So any
You're
person,
allowed. So a lot of people think you're not allowed.
yeah,
So
no, you are allowed to use it for personal use, but you do submit that mileage to the city department, the DPW department, and then they reduce that usage from your payroll.
because you use it for personal use.
Right.
Because a lot of people say, she works at Westchester County, she drives the city car there. Well, that explains why. So sometimes people make up their own minds because of information that is not correct.
Absolutely.
So that way you can tell them what is correct, what is not correct, and
Yes.
what happened and didn't happen.
Yes.
What else do you think it's important for people to know so you can get those votes?
Look, I'm just looking to bring my perspective, my lens, and really create change in the city. Our stories have not been told. I think that, you want someone who has the experience and has seen the inefficient practices in the city workings, but also who brings a different perspective. We've never had a woman in office, we've never had a person of color, and I think, we've never had someone who really understood the experiences of the majority of people in the city of Yonkers. Someone who truly wants to diversify our workforce, diversify city agencies, to make sure that we're pushing and doing the very best for our Yonkers public school students. I'm proud of our Yonkers public school students, but at the same time, I'm critical of what we can do to give them more, and that's what I fight for. To making sure that that they have everything and all the tools that they need to be the very best versions of themselves and continue to make us proud. And that's what I'm fighting for. For the parents who struggles and has to fight with tooth and nail to get their child's an IEP or to get their child evaluated to know what additional resources their child needs. Parents shouldn't have to fight so hard for services. And that is what the many experiences that people have faced in our cities. People should feel that when they file a complaint from the building department, that it is really heard and is not falling on deaf ears. That I don't have to call and email 5 or 6 times for change to happen within certain departments. Now we are understanding that all investment is not good investment, and we have to be very careful who we sell the Yonkers real estate to, so that slumlords are not acquiring additional property to create subpar living conditions for our residents of the city of Yonkers. That every pocket of our city feels safe, and we make sure that when we say that Yonkers is a safe city, people really feel that way, and they don't feel like when they're being lectured when they don't feel safe in their backyard. That we are opening all our community centers to make them really community centers, to provide additional services, to fight for areas like New Riding Hill and West Side Yonkers, and the city as a whole, to make sure that that everyone's story is told, that those stories are put into policy, and that people truly feel heard and seen. And that is what I'm looking to bring: a new face, a new voice, and to accept that that we will make mistakes, but when you do it with an open heart and an open mind, we can work on those mistakes together. We can acknowledge our faults and acknowledge our strength and work toward plans together. When you bring people in, you make them feel included, you make them feel part of the story that is Yonkers, and really create a place where people feel that the government is with them and for them. And that's just what I'm looking to do as Yonkers mayor. And it's a great experience to have been here speaking to all of you at Yonkers Voice. I appreciate the questions, I appreciate the lively conversation, and I look forward to coming back and to talking to you guys as many times as you like.
But we're not done yet.
Oh, we're not, you made it seem
No,
like,
almost,
okay.
yeah.
I thought we were concluding, so.
No, we are concluding. I have to ask you the same question as I asked the other candidate yesterday, Mr. Anthony Morante. It was a shock to many people that the superintendent, Dr. Edward Quesada, is leaving Yonkers Public Schools. 2 weeks ago, Mayor Spanos spoke highly about him, about all the work that he's done, all the changes that he has accomplished. But some people are saying, this don't sound right. That all of a sudden he announces his retirement. Maybe it was something that was on the works. Mr. Morante was surprised about that. Were you surprised?
Look, I was surprised. I didn't see it coming. But I can't speak to the fact that, something does not go right if I haven't heard anything otherwise.
Based on your experience.
Look, all I know is that a statement was put out that he is retiring. I haven't spoken to Dr. Quesada directly. We've been playing phone tag, but I wish him the very best. I'm grateful for the time that he served in our city, and I don't like to speak on things unless I have facts. And for what I know, what's in front of me is that Dr. Quesada submitted his retirement, and we don't know the personal reasons that he might have done so.
Well, we wish Dr. Quesada the same. He has always been very polite to us, always spoke very nice with us. Whatever he decides to do going forward in his life, we wish him the best, Dr. Quesada. Still a young man.
He's been an educator for all his life, really came up as principal and administrator, and I think he truly cares about our children. I believe that, he did the very best given the resources that he had, and I wish him the best in his retirement, and I think great things I'm sure will happen for him in retirement, and I'm sure many students will start to Quesada, who he has impacted so many lives.
One last question, or perhaps a statement from you. Do you pledge to run a clean campaign without personal attacks towards any of the candidates out there? Just focus on the facts, nothing but the facts, and what the benefits to the city of Yonkers, or?
Absolutely. I've always, in all the races that I've run, I've always run clean campaigns that just focus on the policies, the issues. That's what I've done thus far. That's what I'm going to continue to do. And I think that's the best way to, take the issues to the people. We don't have to get down and dirty for people to make a decision. I think if you just tell people the truth, talk about the issues at hand, the policies, you stand by your record, that is enough for people to make, educated and sound decisions. And what's going to happen is going to happen, and there's nothing that can get in the way with that, not even in dirty politics.
When you're right, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Corazon, just on a side note, did you bring me my check?
What check?
And the reason why I'm asking Corazon if she brought me my check was because there was somebody that asked in public, in the public domain,
Oh my God.
that Corazon paid me for whatever thing. I don't know what she paid me for, but I never got a check, Corazon.
No, I have not paid you.
Have you ever paid me anything?
No, I've never paid you.
So as a matter of fact, Corazon is one of the few politicians that have never purchased an ad from Yonkers Voice. And that is perfectly okay. You do what you think is best for your campaign. I just wanted to come across that people don't pay me for anything.
That's right.
And the other day, in front of the police headquarters, Corazon Pineda-Isaac did not come to me to say anything whatsoever. I was the one that went to her and said, Corazon, when are we going to have an interview or sit down to talk about your campaign? Am I correct or am I wrong?
That is correct. That is correct.
That was all. So, credibility matters, okay? Talking facts matter. So listen from people that really know what they are talking about and don't pull things from nowhere. So I'm sorry, I just had to vent.
Okay.
Okay.
It's your show.
It's my show, so,
It's your show.
just in case, if you had that check, I'm taking it out.
Okay.
Guys, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. I appreciate your support. Don't forget, come to Giovanni's Pizzeria. Support our local business. Support Yonkers Voice, because here is where you hear about everything that's happening in Yonkers. We ask you to please follow our page, Yonkers Voice page. Today's down for whatever reason with Facebook. But you should also follow us on Instagram and our YouTube channel, because that's where we go live when we have a problem elsewhere. So check us out there, tell your friends about it, and thank you for watching, and until next time. You want to tell them anything else before we go?
No, thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to seeing many of you on the campaign trail and continue to share things in our vision for Yonkers. And I look forward to having your vote on June 27th.
You know, Corazon, don't forget, guys, you need to vote.
Absolutely. Look,
Just-
our voice is our power. It is our ability to make change. And if you feel unhappy about the current status of your city, if you feel happy about the current status of your city, that is the way that you make it known. So vote and, let your voice be heard, because it truly, truly matters.
Thank you, and until next time. Corazon, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Later, guys.